Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of No Title Needed, coming to you from the beautiful Feinstein's Cabaret at the Hotel Carmichael in Carmel, Indiana, USA. I am Cynthia Collins.
And I'm Scott Osborne.
And we are, get ready.
We are your co-hosts.
Oh my gosh, we are. And today we have Milton Thompson. Now, do you go by Milton or Milt or what do you like?
Sure.
What do you like? Anything? All the above?
All the above.
Okay. Thank you for being.
I really don't like lousy
Or hey you.
Hey you.
That guy. I'm sure no one does that to you because you're incredible. You have done so many things. It's mind-blowing. And
very entertaining.
And extremely entertaining. Before we were sitting here at this table talking and chatting. And okay, so I'm going to stop talking because we only have so much time. And we might have to have a part two.
We might.
With you.
Yeah.
Milk. You're a attorney?
I am.
That's one thing.
I've been an attorney for pushing 48 years.
You represent athletes?
I represented pound for pound some of the better athletes in the world and still do in a host of opportunities, even in their post-careers. So, yes, I've been associated with high-level athletes.
As well as entertainers.
As well as entertainers. Stories I could tell you about some of those entertainers.
Yeah, and sometimes that crosses over.
Absolutely. Every athlete wants to be an entertainer, and every entertainer wants to be an athlete.
Mm-hmm.
So
he wants to do everything, and then you have done everything. Now you've written this book. Here we have it.
Yes.
With Paul Miller.
Yes.
First thing, why? Why write it?
Because everyone has urged me to do a book of my memoirs. This is not that book.
Okay.
So one of my partners in Executive Athletes International is D. Paul Miller, who's already a best-selling author. And we were looking at assets because of our speaking engagements and how do we get more speaking engagements for our panel or for our other athletes. And they said, well, it'd be good if we just led by example, but having our partners also, in addition to Billy Schopenhauer and D. Paul Miller, be on the speaking circuit. Well, let's get some assets built up for Milt. Milt, are you ready to write that one book? I said, no, I'm not ready to write that book. So this is not that book. Mm-hmm. This is a compilation of one of my most recent television shows, which was called Playing for Keeps, which was, I stole my own name from the radio show on ESPN called Playing for Keeps, and then converted to the television show called Playing for Keeps. So my own trademark kept it.
Okay.
And when Channel 40 went out of business or went over to an Hispanic-speaking station, I said, well, all this content, I want my content. So as a lawyer, I just got my own content. So with all that content, what am I going to do with all these wonderful interviews we have with these people? So we took the first 12, so that gives you an idea what the second will look like, more of the executives. The first book's mostly around athletes.
Okay.
For example, the first chapter here is about Tamika Catchings, multiple gold medalist, fever coach, management. People didn't know that she had a speech impediment because she had a hearing impediment. She essentially is deaf. So when you're doing the interview with her, she's essentially watching you so she can read your lips. She's the most eloquent public speaker now, has lost all of that inhibition, but she led through resilience. Mm-hmm. So we talk about a whole chapter about her, how she leads by resilience. Then we go into Michael Irvin, who's very, Dallas Cowboys and The Mouth, and really eloquent and out there talking all the time and things like that. But, he talks about the power of his words and how it leads. And the third chapter is really good right now around the Final Four time because you see Clark Kellogg in the studio always talking about everything. Well, he was so loquacious that I called him Mr. Vernacular. I gave everybody a nickname that came on my show. And because he said, squeeze the orange, or hoop and harm, all those things kind of came out of Clark Kellogg. And it's because of his background. His dad was a police officer, but his mother was an educator. And she said, if you're going to be getting interviews, you're going to learn how to talk. So Clark learned from an educator's family. That goes on with other folks and how it is they lead.
Yeah.
And we put those together in kind of an anthology of how leadership, of life and leadership, through the mouths of the lives of these tremendous athletes. So that's what Know Your Strike Zone happens to be. And of course, the baseball reference is because of my baseball background and
Quick, what are the rings? Come on.
First team All-American baseball player back in my college days.
Okay.
In this AAA World Series, as I'm on the board of directors of the Indianapolis Indians.
Okay.
And that keeps that rolling. I'm the founder of RBI of Indiana, which was Play Ball Indiana. So 30-plus years ago, we give boys and girls.
What about the
That's what, yeah. So that's some
Pan Am games? Come
so many
on.
things that happened during the Pan American Games and really kind of got Indianapolis on the map as a international sports city. It helped get Milt Thompson as a young 33-year-old lawyer kind of on the map a little bit relative to being around athletes and sports and developing expertise in the international negotiating arena. And part of that was evident by the opportunities to speak with heads of state.
Well, did you have to go down to Cuba?
Yeah.
And time.
Let's hear about
Let's hear about that.
We did have to go down to Cuba, and on the lecture circuit, people always want to hear about it, no matter what.
Well, it's interesting. Listen, it's a pretty big deal.
How many Americans can say that they were in Havana, Cuba, and even fewer can say that they were in a room with Fidel Castro, and even fewer can say that they negotiated directly with him in his place of business.
What was the topic?
There is a long story, but I'll try to
Right. In a nutshell, Milt, I know it's hard.
In a nutshell,
Yeah.
the United States had the Pan American Games via Indianapolis
Okay.
in '87. It turned out to be, but prior to that, in Los Angeles was the multi-sport event that was still boycotted by the Eastern Bloc. So if you're going to have a multi-sport event here in Indianapolis without the Eastern Bloc, we couldn't sell a ticket to United States versus Uruguay every night, or versus maybe Brazil and basketball and a few other sports, but you really couldn't have the kind of newsworthiness of having Cuba right here in your Western Hemisphere participate in the games from a news point of view, from a history point of view, from a participation point of view. Plus, it's an athletic point of view. I mean, their athletes were significantly good in boxing and track and field and all those sort of things, and baseball in particular.
Baseball.
Right.
Huge.
Baseball in particular. So that's what really kind of led to the encounter. First of all, getting there on a DC-3 deal. We had 13 members of a delegation that we got picked out. Elliot Abrams was our advisor at the time from the State Department, and you guys going to take 36 people down there? No, you're not. They're holding up the diplomatic pouches from Washington, D.C., so this is not a good time to go. Well, we're going under the aegis of the International Olympic Committee Act, so that we must go for our commercial purposes to get the Cubans to be there. So
Be involved.
if you're going to go, you're going to go with these rules, and then if you ever meet them, it'll be on the last day you're going to be there, and make sure you leave your books of War and Peace at home. Don't bring them with you. Don't talk about the pigs invasion, although it was 25 years to the date of the pigs invasion.
When you were down
there, it was amazing. We stayed at the Havana Libra Hotel,
Yeah.
and the Cuban mechanics were doing well because of the vintage 56 Pontiacs and things that they got fixed up and kept up. And the Russian ruble was alive in '87 because they were still upholding that regime.
Yes.
In the midst between when they went to '91, where they had
That's right.
games, the Iron Curtain had fallen in between.
That's right.
So I went back as an advisor in '91, although they didn't have any commercial purposes for that. But '87, while we were there, was to persuade the Cubans essentially to come
they?
to the
They
United
too?
States. Oh yeah, well they came.
Good.
There was some brown paper bag diplomacy involved, but we were able to get them here with a promise of them having the '91 games because they blamed the United States for stealing the games in '87 from them. But all that notwithstanding,
Right.
one of the briefing things, which was pretty interesting, I didn't know very much about it. We could only talk about sports. We couldn't talk about politics.
Sure.
So we really were drilled into us that we had to talk about that. So one thing we visited all the places. I remember one place we were sitting at the baseball game, and the same place where Obama was sitting several years later when we had no seats, and there we got pictures with, and they stopped the game and they bring out their equivalent of the Reggie Jackson at the time, and they're giving us gifts and drinking their coffee and the old 60s kind of rendition of how it is they do the games. Well, we had gone on a sports manufacturing facility tour, and we were going through, I was testing, concepts of capitalism versus socialism or others, and they were weaving baseballs, and the women were baseballs, and if you get more pesos, then they do more balls than they do over there, and then under their breath, myself and Tom Eggleston, the other co-counsel, we were walking out, and they all in Spanish. We had to be kind of immersed in,
Of course.
here, and it couldn't talk wrong languages and messed up, although I can give you examples. But they said, why don't your American baseball players use the wooden baseball bats that you get from Southern Indiana and Jeffersonville, the wooden baseball bats?
They asked it
Well,
under their breath. They were saying,
no, they were why don't
the
the gringos? Well, yeah,
they
why don't the
were
gringos?
They were
Why
saying
don't they do that? Yeah. So when I go back to our briefing folks, and before we get on our segregated buses from the national press to them, they're like, well, what does that mean? I said, okay, nope, don't worry about it. It'll never come up. Well, gosh, it was really strange. We weren't briefed on what this might mean. Is that something going on that we're not aware of? I said, it'll never come up until the last night we were there.
Yeah.
Going to go and to say you're going to see the president, going to see it that night. And we were at the Tropicana Club, and my liaison was the famous Alberto Juan Terreno, who also came to Indianapolis from the former 400 meter champion. Anyway, we're in Tropicana Club, and before you know it, we're having fun and enjoying. And all of a sudden, the armed guards come up and say, "Put everything down right now. Stop." And the women, all your purses, just leave them there. They left the 13 members of the press, and this is called 13-member delegation. They marched us out kind of almost like execution style behind the Tropicana Club in the middle of an alley at 3 o'clock in the morning, 10 o'clock in the morning time. And they put us on this bus, and Fidel's brother, Raul, who became president, was essentially the face that was taking us to Revolutionary Palace.
Hold on, stop right there. We've taken a break. I can't believe we're going to, say, hold on, we come back from, I'm so sorry. I know, but we have to take a break, and then we'll be right back.
Okay.
Milt Thompson, and we're going to hear the rest of this Fidel Castro story right after we hear from our sponsor, Randy Sorrell. Hey everyone, we're lucky enough to have artist Randy Sorrell as our sponsor. And today, he's going to show you a few of his beautiful pieces.
Check this out.
Say hello to Songbook Standards. This is an original acrylic, part of my music series that I completed in 2024. Sort of celebrating jazz and blues and cool clubs all across the nation, or the world. And if you dig music, man, you are going to love this one. Lavender Fields is part of my landscape series, and if you could see this in person, you would recognize how thick and juicy and packed full of color this painting is, and it really captures the lavender fields that you see in France and, sometimes here in Indiana. I think you're going to love this one.
Hey everyone, welcome back with our guest, Milt Thompson. Milt, you were just in the middle of talking about meeting with Fidel Castro. There they are. They pull you out of the casino.
They pull us out of
in the alley.
Front of the alleyway, and they get back, and of course there's Mark Miles and Sandy Knapp and other part of our delegation. I remember Larry Conrad, who had worked for the Simons, our former Secretary of State, and working for the Simons at the time. So I remember our delegation, and they kind of weave us around through Old Havana. No commercial signage, right? And so you see big pictures of Fidel Castro, and they wind up and we get over to Revolutionaries, up the hill, Revolutionary Palace, and like, wow. And, Mark Miles had already had a lot of these experiences and conversations, and I'm thinking back about what is happening with that geopolitical trade embargo question in the back of my mind. I said, they'll never come up. Well, we get inside, and they take us, all 13 of us, on the same elevator. I'm thinking fraternity prank, right? And go up to the 4th floor, and it's the first place in the entire country where air conditioning worked, and we knew it. And we're standing kind of in the waiting room, and I'll never forget Sandy Knapp says, "Well, where's the women's room?" And the guy just walks out, and it's what seemed like 30 minutes probably was only about a few minutes,
Yeah.
right? Stan comes back. Next thing you know, in walks guy that you've seen in magazines and television in this very mature camouflage green and hat and beard and very well manicured fingernails and kind of deep receding eyes that kind of penetrated through you. You could really tell this kind of charisma that no matter what the politics, he was person of the people. And you could just kind of sense it and feel it. But as he looks at our delegation, which is already prearranged, he says, well, instead of going to my office, why don't we just go to our conference room, of course. So there we are, kind of like single file down the hallway. Our interpreter, who'd been with us the entire time, and kind of our State Department plant, if you will, goes in with us, and we're seated across on one side. On the back, we could see the clearly one-way mirrors that were there, and big, huge men with long guns right behind them. And so he sits down. Of course, Mark Miles, head of our delegation, directly across Sandy Knapp. Our vice chairman was directly across, and then myself and Tom Eggleston flanked them as a counsel. And so, we were told, keep your hands on top of the desk, and Range says, don't ask him any questions. Have him only know the questions, and and just work through the interpreter. While as we were sitting there, in walks a very attractive West Indies-looking woman who turned out to be his personal interpreter. Okay. So the interpreter, right in the middle of the sentence, gets up, walks out. She sits down right next to him, and begins interpreting what turned out to be a 90-minute session in the middle of the night. We knew that he was nocturnal, and he would be there in the evening time. So with our charge, just he's going to ask questions, let him ask the questions, and if it's your area, you answer the question. So he would start asking questions like, what's the sea level of Indianapolis? And could we do a court of entry in Miami instead of Indianapolis? With the Miami Nationals, they want to come direct to Indianapolis. So the Cuban Nationals in Miami, let's get this guy. He's our family and split our family up. All those kind of issues. We could probably arrange that. And then they want to know, what is the color of the gymnastics mats? So we would match their gymnastics players or whatever. And what kind of food were you going to serve? Or who's going to be the closing ceremony? And what kind of security are you going to have? And all the kind of basic questions. And so kind of right in the middle of that questioning, he turns around to me and says, Comrade Sportsman. He goes, who are the best pitchers in baseball? He says, no, I got this one. I got this one. I said, Roger Clemens and Fernando Valenzuela. Punched him. He said, Valenzuela. Oh, he's Mexican. He's not Cuban. Because they were concerned about defections at that time. Now Cubans in baseball and American League Baseball is not a problem at all. And defections are no longer at issue. I mean, the tolling rules. But anyway, he turns to me, so I answered it. I said, I think I'm done. I think I'm good. Yeah. I think we're going to get out of here and we can get back to the United States and me not die right here. Although in about a few questions more, he turns to me and says, Comrade Sportsman, here it comes. Why don't your American baseball players use aluminum baseball bats? Here is the question they said would never come up. And here we are, 2:00 in the morning. I'm representing the United States of America. I got my colleagues. These people here are very, very important people. They can explain a lot of things, but this one here, Milt, you're going to have to use your own prosecution stuff and trial lawyer stuff, and you have to pull something from somewhere where it doesn't belong. And my response was, Mr. President, in my humble opinion, the biggest difference in Major League Baseball is the advent of the artificial baseball surface. And with the addition of the artificial baseball fan and the velocity of a bat off of aluminum baseball, it would make it a very dangerous sport with our strong and macho players. I think he stroked his beard, had to accept that, and went on with it. And then before you know it, we're out of there. And I said, God, they're going, where did he yank that guy? So before we go.
Well, the minute you said macho, you had it.
Yeah.
He threw that word macho.
Macho, I got there.
And he's like, yeah, okay. Right?
So, of course, the admonition at that time was, do not ask him any questions.
Right.
And, of course, it was going to be my first book venture. Way before Know Your Strike Zone, I was going to do Milt and Fidel.
Yeah.
right? You know, and
It's scary though, you know. You're put on the spot twice there, you know, and comrade sportsman, and that person turns to you and looks at you in the eye, you know.
so I had to break the silence and ask him a question, Mr. President, and everybody's like, "No, you can't, you're not supposed to ask the question." You know what I asked him? I said, "What do you think of the designated hitter rule?"
And what did he say?
You have to get my book at Milton Fidel at that one of your local. No, not true. He simply said, you know, I'm a baseball purist and I like the rules. However, my countrymen love offense, therefore it's an okay rule. He would like today's baseball because the hitter is in both leagues now.
Right.
There's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
No.
There's some truth to almost all of it.
Let's but gosh, oh my gosh, let's get in some of the people that you represent, some of the athletes that you represent, and you represent entertainers as well.
Well, yeah. Back in my heyday, no longer direct representation. I'm no longer licensed by the NFL and NBA Players Association. Primarily NBA players is where we had a great representation opportunity.
Well, you represented the. My gosh.
Well, I still
IU.
The IU 76 team.
Yeah.
But they are no longer playing. They're
right.
But the 76 team, and they'll be honored at the Final Four, final game at halftime.
Right, great.
Undefeated, 50 years to the date, where it is they're the only undefeated team, and very not likely to have another wire-to-wire undefeated team like that team. So they contacted me to work with them and see if we can cement their legacy even further with all kinds of activity, year-long celebration.
Great.
Got a GoFundMe page. It's up, and you guys can be able to contribute to that so that they can help older athletes that do not take advantage of the current NIL structures, as well as those that might be suffering health and issues like that.
Yeah.
I have to admit that I stole a little bit of that off of my former law partner, Scott Tarter's Dropping Dimes Foundation, that did the whole thing for the old ABA players.
Yes.
The waiting game.
Yes.
That my friend and colleague, Mike Hussein. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. He's great. Great doc. Great document.
Just left me a note just yesterday as we got him working on another document.
Awesome.
With that whole gymnastics thing that we talked about.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Well, so who? Okay. So who?
Back then, we represented Rick Smits and Detlef Schrempf of the Pacers. We had Lloyd Vaught and the Clippers and Jerome Kersey, the Trailblazers, and so we had a host of NBA players, pound for pound, some of the better ones that were in the NBA, and we had race car drivers. Currently,
of course,
still working with Lynn St. James, who right now we just negotiated a deal with her to have her life story being told with a Lifetime movie, and she'll be here in May. Maybe you can get her on your on your podcast, but. Lynn is doing great, and I really want to have her legacy kind of pull together. I'll give you one little inside story on Lynn. There's a lot of inside stories on Lynn, other than being the first woman rookie of the year of the Motor Speedway, which is pretty powerful, and her own books and things like that. And she's also a member of our EAI entourage.
You have to write that other book with all these stories in it. I mean, you have to, because it's so interesting.
You want to be on Ghostwriter?
And Brand, hell no.
That was it.
But I'd read it. But I'd read it.
Okay.
And but what's God? Come on, we were talking about
athletes that we had represented.
And Simone. Yeah. Else is coming. Well, they moved here.
They moved here. Mr. Owens has been with 5 teams, but finally got traded from the Bears to Colts. Yeah. And of course, they're big fans of one another. Yeah. And so she had a lot of her success here with United States Gymnastics, having been located here, even during and before scandal. Yeah. But she's got fond memories of Indianapolis. Okay. Not so much of Dr. Nasser and Ed L, but she loved the venue here and loved Indianapolis. So I think they're looking for a home here, and we're looking forward to inviting her out to the cheerleading gym. And as a gymnast. Yeah. How are you going to be? Because you would look with her and. What is it you're going to do? We don't know what we're going to do yet. We haven't really made contact with her. We're just hoping that she will work with the people that have the gymnastics center here, which happen to be my friends and clients as well. Yeah. So there's all kinds of things moving parts that are going on in the world of sports that I have had the opportunity to work with. I founded Play Ball Indiana, which is now RBI of Indiana. Long time as executive director, who I remember hiring 30 years ago, is retiring after 30 years of really turning what was my baby into more than just an institution, but now one that is longstanding, the largest RBI program in non-major league city in the country, boys and girls softball and baseball, in which we didn't know we were creating that monster at the time, but that's one of my prides. And so happens that Indianapolis Indians,
Yes.
and with a lot of my work through foundations and charities, I'm on the IHSA Foundations board. I'm
You're on like 1,000 boards.
chairman of the board of the English Foundation currently, chairman of the board of Crown Hill Cemetery, the IHSA Foundation's board of directors as their secretary. But anyway, notwithstanding all of that, we figured out that Indianapolis Indians needed charities. So we worked behind the scenes, and with Strata and other folks, they funded at Indianapolis Indians charities. Ultimately, Play Ball Indiana, or RBI of Indiana, is the major benefactor of Indianapolis Indians charities, which is so cool.
Yeah.
The full circle that when I first started in Play Ball Indiana, I'm trying to get people to sponsor it, and I'm
And now
going to the endowment and everybody. I'm going, we have teams. No, you don't. You're lying. Well, I got money. No, you don't. You're lying. So you put them both together, and somehow we ended up with a wonderful program that services so many young people throughout the years. And I'm so proud of that. And then that the Indianapolis Indians and the charities and other board that I serve has taken up this cause as their major benefactors. And I'm looking forward to seeing how that relationship grows.
you got your
So
hands
special.
in a lot of stuff still. You are not. You are.
Yep.
You're going strong.
I hope so.
No, you are.
I'm having so much fun. People say,
It's great.
"Are you going to retire early?" I said, "Retire from what?
Right.
This is just life.
This is just what I do." And people say, "Aren't you going to slow down?" Slow down?
That's
Does
deadly.
it look like I'm really working hard? I'm just chilling. I'm able to sit behind my desk and a computer and a Zoom. People are saying, "Look, you're so social." During the pandemic, it says, "This really has to be tearing you apart." I go, "No. I'm exhausted by the end of the day from working on Zoom." Everybody learned what Zoom was at the time, but
I know.
they're doing telehealth and everything else. So, no, I'm not stopping. I do have to make some international flights coming up with some of the enterprises and intellectual property stuff that I'm still familiar with. International relationships, something that the Pan Am Games also gave me kind of a start on, negotiations around the globe.
Oh my gosh, we have to wrap it up.
Right.
We have to have you back on because
I would love
haven't
that.
even
Yeah.
talked about your past.
Oh, it's bad.
Right? I know.
Television shows and radio shows,
Childhood.
childhood. Oh my goodness.
Lots more to cover.
Oh, right. And that's a whole other kettle of fish. So,
Sounds like a book in there somewhere.
well, you could probably write 10 books.
Well, they come on this right here and make sure that they get Know Your Strike Zone. Best-selling book already.
Now, listen, where can people get this?
They can get this through Amazon.
Okay.
They can then get their own copy.
Okay.
And we're soon going to be on bookshelves
Okay.
Great.
in bookstores.
Oh my gosh, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much.
You are a plethora
Thank you
of
for,
just
I've been
knowledge and stories and
looking forward to being called plethora. It's a lot of things.
that's a big word.
That's a huge word.
Yeah, I'm learning.
Things I can tell you about words and wordsmithing. My goodness, it
Trying
drives me crazy.
to educate myself.
Okay.
But thank you
You're
for
welcome.
being here, Milt, and the best of luck with everything you have coming up, which is probably 1,000 things.
We have fun.
So, and thank you for
And
joining.
we need to talk about is you and I being on a movie together.
Do you hear him?
We're in a movie together,
That's
though.
Noble Vision.
Noble Vision.
We need to get into that.
We were
Oh my! We didn't even see each other because we weren't even.
in Phil over here was actually he was
totally
actually
different.
doing stuff.
I was trying to wrap it up, but you see what he did?
I'm so sorry.
Oh my gosh, unbelievable.
You upset me.
I'm about to, but no. Thank you so much, and thank you for joining us for another episode of No Title Needed. Coming over to Feinstein, see a cabaret. They have something going on almost every night over here. Excellent entertainment, fantastic. What?
Mixologist.
Oh my God, yes, and great food.
Fantastic
great-
facility.
And,
Right.
and it's
Beautiful.
beautiful facility. So come on over and see something over here. You won't be sorry.
Close and personal.
Very intimate, like us. So I am Cynthia Collins,
And I am Scott Osborne.
and we'll see you next time on No Title Needed. Thanks a lot.